Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, welcome once again to Research Hub, where you get to learn the channel where you get to learn everything about research um, and its applicability in your work or in your studies. Today, we are going to be looking at um, starting to choose a research topic. This is a very very important area because there's no way you can start um, doing your research without understanding what research topic is. Because if you pick the wrong research topic, you are definitely heading towards the rock, and it's going to be difficult for you to accomplish. Because your greatest motivation in your research journey is actually your interest, your area of interest. So if you pick a research topic that is related to what you desire to do or what you like, it becomes very very easy for you to accomplish. Because if it is not at your area of interest, it becomes problematic. Because once you get to a point where um, you don't find it interesting any longer, it becomes a challenge to continue. So today we're going to be looking at, it's going to be a series. Okay, it's going to be a series, and so that means you need to stay glued to the channel to be able to follow through with what we're doing step by step from the beginning to the end of your research journey. So the first thing to do is to choose your topic. Your topic has to be related to what you desire, your area of interest, like I mentioned earlier. So it's going to be very very important for you to consider that. And then you go from a very broad topic to a more narrowed um, topic. For instance, if your area of interest is the effect of climate change uh, on productivity, you might want to narrow it down to something specific. You might want to narrow it down to something like, okay, the effect of climate change on agricultural productivity in Nigeria. Okay, so that is this that I mentioned is more specific than the previous one. So the previous one is actually broad, but this one is narrow. It's narrow in the sense that it is more um the scope is not as wide as the previous one. And so you have narrowed it down to something that you'll be able to get a lot of information and then get your work done within a short period of time. Okay, so that is that. And then you consider that this topic is something that will you'll be able to handle as the journey progresses. You'll be able to handle it and get all the information you need to be able to get it done in a very short period of time. Then the second thing you should do after you've identified a topic, is to define your problem, your research problem. What problem do you want to solve? Okay, because if this is not properly defined, you find it difficult. At the end of the day, it's as if you have not done anything. So you have to define your problem uh, uh, in a way that will make it possible for you to get your research design uh, done very very well. Because if your problem is not properly, if the research problem is not properly stated, you may not be able to to define or state your methodology. That is the methods you want to adopt in solving the problem. So in stating in defining your research problem has to be specific. It has to be specific in the sense that if your problem uh, is not well coined in such a way that it is a hammer, a hammer to the nail, then it becomes a challenge. For instance, like the topic we are looking at, we said the effect of climate change on agricultural productivity in Nigeria. A specific problem statement could read like, okay, the how does climate change, for instance, how does climate change affect crop yield in rural Nigeria? How does climate change affect crop yield in rural Nigeria? This way, you have properly defined the problem that you want to solve. Okay, so and this problem that you have clearly defined will help you um, to to get your methodology stated properly. That means the method that you want to adopt in solving the problem you have stated. Okay, now if you have done all this properly, then the next thing to do is to do a thorough review of literature. So your literature review, the essence of your literature review is to get yourself acquainted with the relevant information in your chosen topic. Is there available literature? uh, are these literatures are they reliable? Because there are some topics that after picking them, you find it difficult to get adequate information that will help you to progress in your research. But there are a lot of sites where a lot of databases that you can use to get relevant information. For instance, you can use Scopus Index. I'm sorry, so you can use Scopus. You can use Google Scholar. You can use ResearchGate. All of these are databases where you can have access to research, to journals and and research papers that will help you to capture all the information that you need to do your work. Okay, so now and in your literature search, after your literature search, you'll be able to you come and synthesize. What I mean by synthesize is that you are going to summarize all the literatures so that you'll be able to identify the research gap. Okay, now the research gap you're identifying is to let you know areas where research has not covered, or where areas whereby previous researches have brought out contradictory findings that you want to address. Okay, because it is the gap that you have identified that will show that your research is actually relevant. Because if there's no gap, then it becomes a challenge. Because if there's no gap, then what problem are you trying to solve? Then there's no research if there's no gap. So, but if you have identified the gap that you want to fill, it becomes very, very easy for you to carry out your research. So let me go ahead and summarize what we have just mentioned now. I said the first thing to do in your research journey is to first of all identify your topic, and your topic has to be based on your area of interest. Okay, it has to be based on your area of interest. And the second thing is to carry out um, to write a statement of your research problem. If you have done that properly, and I said your problem statement has to be specific and straightforward, okay, because it will help you to design your methodology. Then the final thing to do is the next thing to do, not the final, the next thing to do is to conduct a thorough and in-depth literature review. Okay, to conduct an in-depth literature review. In subsequent videos, I will be doing going step by step in all of these things, so that I'll be able to do. I'll show us example of how it is done. If possible, I'll get us a projector to be able to focus on um, all of these areas individually, so that we'll be able to get all the information we need to carry out our research. So thank you very much. I'll see you in subsequent videos where we'll be talking about research methodology. Thank you. Bye.